Hey, I am so in the spring mood just as a massive snowstorm is about to hit the Midwest. Let's see what I can create today.
Project number one is quick and easy. And yes, it's time for the March Sonnets Makers Box. And I am using a lot of items from that in today's video. And this is going to be a little bit longer than my recent ones. I found this frame at the little local thrift store. I want to say it was a $1.50, 75 cents. I don't remember. It was cheap. I'm going to use a razor blade just to scrape the sticky off. And because it ended up pulling off some of the paper on the back, I did give it a quick sand. I painted that so that it all matched, and then I took it apart. I am going to use the glass to measure on the paper exactly where I want it. And by doing that, or how I do that, is by running my finger along the edge of that glass so I can see exactly where this little guy is going to fit. This paper I am using is called Bunny in Bloom by Connie, the painted photographer. Her papers can be found on my website, www.midwestcharm.co. You guys, this is such an easy flip. You're literally just popping this into the frame, making sure that you have a white background behind it so that the colors really pop, putting that frame back together, and you are done. I'm not even painting this frame because it's just perfect the way it is. Project number two is actually a little magnetic closing box that I actually got a candle in, and I have had it for the longest time. There is an impression on the top that I am going to go ahead and fill, and I'm just using some like spackling stuff. I don't know, the pink stuff that turns white when it's all dry. And we are just going to fill in that and then the little holes on the bottom, set that aside to dry. And what I didn't get on videos after this is dry, I do go ahead and sand it all smooth, wipe it down, and spray it with some shellac so that it isn't as porous as that stuff tends to be. And I did not get to filming that part as well as filming me painting this thing in two coats of the Champlain that came in the box. The colors this month are so pretty, and I didn't even use a whole lot of them. I'm really shocked at the lack of paint that I used. I did use for this project, like I said, the Champlain for the background, and then I do use some Inglenook here, and those are both fusion colors, and I use the other color later on, and I also use it in another project as well. So I am pulling out, this is called the Garden Merchant pattern. And you can see I took my misting bottle and dampened that paper, which helps it to release all of the fibers, and it makes it stretch really well so that when it dries, it's nice and flat and smooth and tightly on there. And I love doing this method. I am using some DIY liquid patina for my decoupage medium, and I am just doing each side all at once because this is small enough that it just will make it easier for me. This does have like an opening top, so I will have to go back in and slice those. But you'll see here, I just lay it down, that starting one where I want it. I smooth it with my fingers, and I don't know why I was so off camera for this video. I apologize, guys. I'm gonna have to figure out my setup and change it around just a little bit. And then to help smooth it, I also use some of that liquid patina on the brush to seal this in and smooth it all out. And then I'm just gonna repeat this going around the entire little box. And when we get to the other where the corners will match up, I'm just going to cut off a chunk and let it set it aside to dry. You need this to be completely dry before we go in and sand off those edges. So while I am completing getting the rest of these sides all attached to my little box with my liquid patina, let me introduce myself. My name is Sandra. I'm the owner and creator here at Midwest Charm. I specialize in repurposed, upcycled vintage home decor and all of your crafty DIY needs. I carry DIY paint, Sweet Pickins Milk Paint, Iron Orchid Designs, Roycycled Treasures, Connie Lines and Designs, and more. You can find all the products in today's video. Most of them came in Sonnet's Maker's Box. I have a link down below where you can bypass the wait list and get right in on receiving your box. And then I do link up all of the products that I do carry on my website in the description as well. I do carry Roy Cycled and Connie papers, and while you might not have these exact ones, you will find other ones that might suit your needs. So make sure you're checking those out. And let me think if I missed anything else here. I think I covered all the details. So let's get back to our project. So once this is completely dry, I am going to take my finger sander, which I do have these linked down below in my Amazon affiliates link. I do get a small commission if you guys purchase any of the items through those links, and I appreciate you guys who do that. It's not a lot, but every little penny counts. Am I right? Um, we are going to take the finger sander and sand all those edges smooth, and this is my favorite method to get that part done. It just really gives it a really nice clean line. But before I do that, I mention that I'm going to cut this extra bit off here where the two edges meet and save that for our top piece. And we are also going to take a razor blade. I, at the time, could not find my X-Acto knife. I found it right after I was done filming the part here coming up where I am cutting the paper that is over the seams for where the box opens. So not only do you have the top part down the sides, but then you have the back and the front where it's hinged and lifts up. So we do have that coming up as well. We are going to sand all this off, the sides, the top, the bottom, and then I'm going to just double check that if any of these little pieces need to be glued back down, I'm going to use my liquid patina to do that during this step as well. I think I have linked below as well refills for these finger sanders. I've had this set for over a year. I think the set I have linked has two finger sanders, and I don't remember how many papers I go through them though. So I usually buy them in two grits. I usually buy the 120 and the 220, or sometimes like the 180, just depending on what is the better deal between the 120 and the 180. So those are some of my favorites. And here I am. I am just going to go ahead and use this blade to make a cut in the paper where this will be hinged and it'll open. And this is an easy task, and you may need to redo this after you do the top because some of that liquid patina may leak back down in there and it may need to be done again. Not a big deal. It's quick, it's easy. An X-Acto knife is probably a better option, but you use what you've got. I'm going to go ahead and mist this portion and then use my liquid patina to attach this. The other tip I have is make sure that your paper is really dry before you take your X-Acto knife or a blade to do that, or you do run the risk of tearing your paper instead of actually cutting it. And this box is just about done. We are going to set this aside, let it dry completely, and then I'm going to come back in, sand off all those edges, and cut where the paper needs to go, or where the sides are so that it can open. And then we are going to go ahead. I have poured a bunch of these bunny molds from the spring release from Iron Orchid Designs. I love these little guys. They're so stinking cute. And I took the Inglenook, which matches Royce's paper like perfectly. There's that color in there, just little bits here and there, and it just matches perfect. I'm going to go ahead and give him 2 coats of Inglenook, and then we are going to use Type On Quick and Thick, and I'm just going to apply it with a I use a popsicle stick just to apply it on there and smooth it out. And then I'm just going to place it where I want it and set it aside to dry. Y'all, this is in real time pretty much here. I went from gluing this on to dark waxing it in about 5 minutes or so, and it was attached on there very well. I didn't have any shifting or anything, and it was perfect. I just felt like this box needed something, some sort of a pop, and that little bunny it fit perfect. So I'm going to go over the bunny with dark wax and then all around each of the edges and the top where the hinges are and where everything opens, and then give it a good buff. If you ever use too much of the dark wax, you can go in with clear and that'll help remove it. This has been sealed up with our liquid patina, so this does make it easier to put this on and remove. It's not a big deal. And then I'm just going to use my blue shop towels, which you see sitting right there, and I'm just going to buff all of that off. And you guys, this is done. I forgot to mention, always hang out to the end so you can see the final results because these are so good. I also dark waxed the inside of this lid too, just so that it matched up more with the rest of the box, the outside of the box, and it's just the cutest thing. You can use it to store things. You can put greenery in there. You can make it into a little mini Easter basket. I just think it's the cutest thing ever. And we are moving on to project number 3 next. And if you remember at the beginning of this video, I said there was 4 projects. Actually, there's like 6. And this is where we are going to be doing some of those extra ones. So I am taking, this is just some drop cloth that I have ripped some pieces of. And I have the most perfect basket that I'm going to add these to. But what I'm going to do is take out Royce's The Rabbit Keeper's Ledger. And this is a gorgeous masterboard. And I decided that I wanted to either use this little bunny I'm cutting or the little baby, I think, are they chicks or ducks? Can't remember. I want to say they're chicks though. And I couldn't decide which one to use. So I'm going to wet cut both of these out, and that's just simply taking water and a paintbrush, running it around the item you want to showcase and pulling it out. So I do that with both of them. And honestly, I end up doing both of these on a chunk of the drop cloth because I really, really didn't know which one to do. The only thing I would change is I think I am going to go back in and do some dark wax, not only on the part that I decoupaged onto the drop cloth, but also on the edges of the drop cloth itself, just to make it look a little bit more dingy and aged like the rest of my projects are. So I am going to decoupage these onto the drop cloth. And we're going to do this the same way that I do all of my decoupaging. I'm just going to take my liquid patina, and you do have to go in heavier with this just because the fabric will soak it up. And I do actually remember here in just a second that, oh shoot, I really need to have this on some plastic so that it'll peel up easily and it doesn't soak through into my paper that I have on my table right now. So then I get that plastic under there and then I just continue, and it's literally just laying down that decoupage, and I did the bunny as well. So this is the basket I was talking about. I love it. It reminds me of a berry basket, and it's just, I've had it sitting here in my bedroom for a while because I was going to keep it, and I actually still may, but I just love the shape of it, and it was just holding some odds and ends for me. And when I got these papers, I knew that I was going to do some drop cloth that was decoupage and put that on there. And so I decided to go in with that Inglenook and paint the trim and the handle. And I did do 2 coats of this. This is really dry wood. It's an older basket, and I really wanted to make sure that that color really popped on there. And here I am, I'm just putting down a corner that just did not have quite enough of the liquid patina. And then I'm going to take the scissors and trim this down a little bit, because now that my basket is done, I'm able to measure exactly the size that I need. And this didn't tear so well, so I just cut it and then pulled some of the strings to make it look more frayed. And to attach this to the basket, I couldn't find my hot glue gun. I think it's out in the garage. I don't know. So I just went ahead and did a couple of dots of the type on Quick and Thick and attached them on there. And here's where my extra projects come in, because I used the first time ever, I did Sonnet's printables. If you guys aren't taking advantage of that and you get her box or just the printables, they're so much fun. I have a laser jet printer now, and I printed these off, and I am just going to use my liquid patina and attach them to a piece of heavy cardstock that I have. I think this is either stuff that we got at the thrift store or a yard sale or something. I don't even know where it came from, but it's a really nice heavy cardstock. I use it a lot. I picked out 3 of the tags that were on there that I really like that go with my projects today. 2 of them are flowers and one is carrots. So I'm just trimming these up really quick, and then you'll see me attach these just like I would if I were attaching these to any other type of surface. It does stick, it does work well, and it also just gives us a little bit more weight and heft. This is mulberry paper, which is a rice paper, and it's great, but I wanted it to have a little bit more heaviness and not curl up so much. So we are gonna get these attached and set these aside to dry. When I set this aside to dry, I let them go overnight, but I used some of my paint bottles to hold down all of the corners of the cardstock, just to make sure that as this dried, it didn't curl up on me. Because again, I want these to be able to hang and you to be able to see them, and I don't want them to be curled up. Once this is dry, I cut them into the separate 3, and I just used my X-Acto knife to work on the little hole here. And then I am going to tear along all of the edges of these tags to make them look old and worn. And I really love the look that it gave them. It's a simple, I literally just ripped down the sides, and it just gives them that frayed, more organic look to them, and it makes them look not quite so new. Because if this were really an old tag, it would look more worn and it wouldn't have the straight lines. So I really think this added to it. And then finally, the last thing that I do for these is I do take my dark wax, and I go especially around the edge and where the hole is and where any of the cardstock may be showing, and I do give that a quick swipe of the dark wax, and I do use my shop towel to get that rubbed off. If it ends up with too much on there, I just go ahead and use my finger with some clear wax and rub a little bit more on there. You can see that first one definitely looks more blotchy, and I do go in and fix that. And then I'm taking my excess wax off of my paper and adding it to the other tags, and then these are finished. I do take some twine that I have and run them through each of these, and we're going to use them in 3 different spots. So next up, I have these cool little carrots. I got these from CNC DIY Factory. They're really nice and thick and cute. I am taking scraps of, I believe this is from the Garden Merchant pattern from the little box. And I am just going to quickly decoupage, and I'm just misting it. And then I'm just going to stick this onto each one of these carrots and set these aside to dry. And just like my other pieces that we have decoupaged today, once these are completely dry, I do go in with that finger sander and sand off all of the edges. And then once that part is done, I decided that these needed just a little bit more of a pop. I want them to look a little bit more like a carrot. So I'm taking one of the oranges. I believe this is Summer Crush, and this was in a prior maker's box. And it's a little dried up and chunky, but this works so perfectly for the rust effect that I like to do. So what I'm going to do is just take some of this, really, really water it down into a wash. And you can see me adding more and more and more, and kind of um, just going to do a quick wash on both sides of this, the side with the print and then the side that is raw, and then set these aside to dry. And I think this just gave it the most perfect look. I do go in with a chunk of the scrap drop cloth and just kind of dab away a little bit of it so it looks just a little bit lighter. And I just think they are tremendous. The last thing I do is I cut up some greenery and I use some glue to attach it to the backs of those, and my carrots are done. The final thing we are going to do is take our little tag with our twine and tie it around this group of three and make a cute little carrot bundle. Oh, y'all, these turned out so good. I really think adding that color and the decoupage paper to it just was perfect. And I can't wait for you guys to see the final result of these because they're so super cute. And finally, we are going to move on to project number 4. I really, really couldn't wait to use Leah's Heirloom Carrots paper by the Painted Photographer. The minute I saw this, I knew I had to have the perfect thing. And I was going through some of the stuff I found in my recent haul, and I found it. Oh my gosh, y'all. This is just a decor scoop piece that hangs on the wall and looks like a little shelf on the one side. But what I decided to do is to take this. You can see I am using the water method to pull this out. This is rice paper, so you may have little fibers. I actually really like that look that it gives. I am not going to paint the back of this. Normally, if I'm putting this on something, I either paint the item white or paint the back of my paper, but I actually want this to look really old and aged. So I'm going to set this or get this, apply it to the back of this scoop. I am going to mist this piece just to make sure that it's not that it's not pliable, but I really want it to tighten up once it dries. So we're going to give it a quick mist and apply this like we would any other item. And you can see the rust. Some of it's faux, some of it's real. Um, I just, I love the piece, and I wasn't sure how I was going to style it up, but I really love it now, and it can be used in multiple ways, and I am so excited about this. So we are going to go ahead and apply our liquid patina and then go over the top of it, smooth out any of those wrinkles, and make sure it is sealed up. I do go over the whole back side here, right here, and make sure that everything is sealed up because I am going to do some more to this, and I want to make sure that the same finish is on the entire piece. And then because there's that hole there that it hangs on, y'all make sure to go to the other side of this and wipe that off, and because there will be a drippy. So I get the rest of this laid down, and I'm going to set this aside to dry as soon as this is all applied and I get a little bit more of that on there. So remember that orange paint? Yeah, so there's also some brown in there too. I believe it's layered chocolate, and I can't remember if this is the orange crush or whatever the other orange one is. Don't shoot me, I'm so sorry. And what you can't see is that I am applying this and misting it, and I'm having it run down the entire picture so that rust kind of carries over and back and drips down. Y'all, this looks so good. This is by far my favorite project. I love the paper. I'm obsessed with the paper. I love old seed packets as it is, and this was just perfection. I'm just adding that orange and the brown mixture in around the bottom. I am doing the drippies going down the entire top, not just where the label is, but the entire part. And then I am now going in with dark wax and I'm pouncing it on there and doing the edges to make sure that all of the edges are darkened, that it's going to be darkened around that hole, which I just used my X-Acto knife to cut out. And then I'm going to make sure that I get some of that brown wax and carry it over so that the brown and the orange really play well together and it looks like it's rusty, crusty amazingness. And then instead of just wiping it off, I am just kind of dabbing it. And then I do go over all of it with a little bit of clear. And once that clear is wiped off, I do go back in with some of that dark and dab in a little bit more because the clear does remove some of that dark wax. And I just really wanted to add it back into a few places. I love this. I just styled this up with some greenery. It's my favorite. It's so stinking good. The other thing I could have done was add some decrepit dust, and I didn't think of that till it was done. But I really, really love how this turned out. I cannot wait for you guys to see it. And here are the final projects. I will see you at the very end.
What did you guys think of the Maker's Box this month? I thought it was really, really sweet and just the most perfect papers. I had so much fun. If you can't tell which item was my fave, it was definitely that scoop with the carrots label on it. I'd love to know what your favorite item was out of my projects today. And remember, you can always skip the line on the Maker's Box and get yours by clicking the link down in my description. And we will see you guys all next time. Bye.